Okay, cool. Let's dive right in. So I went ahead, I've been playing with it this morning. I put the C3 on a bunch of different tracks, the drums, bass, vocals, a couple buses, and the master bus as well. So let's go through. I'll start with drums and just kind of go down the mix. So with the kick drum, let's go ahead and turn that on. What I wanted to do, because I only used one kick drum mic, is I wanted to sort of flatten the sound a little bit to get it to be a little more resonant. I just had an inside mic. I didn't have the outside mic, so I want to get a little more resonance out of that kick drum. So I have a quick attack on here. It kind of flattens it out a little bit, makes the sound a little longer. And so I was doing some tone shaping on that. Let's check that out here. She got down on the mall. If it means we must take him. Her faith was changed, but her heart stayed the same. Said it done. Well, 12 men they walked in the it took a So for this, I tried a few different of the character settings on this plugin and ended up just liking it clean. I'm not really trying to add like a vintage character or distortion or saturation to the kick drum necessarily. I really just wanted to sort of shape the attack and release. So I thought the clean setting just worked really nice for this. And it definitely did what I wanted it to do there. Something I want to show you all real quick that I noticed right off the bat when I was playing with kick drum is the auto gain. I never use auto gain on my compressors because they never work right. So this one at least lets you adjust after. You see I have auto enabled, and you can still sort of just turn down the gain from there. Watch this. This is so crazy. And this is why I never use auto gain right here, because it's never accurate. So if we go to this one kick drum hit, I'll just loop it. And I'm going to set it to set it to 0. So it's just on flat. I'll use shift to do fine tuning here. Close enough. You know what? Let's just put 0. So this is just straight auto gain, and I'm going to loop it, and I'll let you all hear what it's doing here. And I'm going to bring up my meter as well, so you can see the volume here when I bypass it like this, or when it's not bypassed. You'll see the volume, how auto gain is handling it here. Let's check it out. So this is what I found with this plugin, that basically auto gain, you want to turn it down like around 3 or 4 decibels to get it even with your original signal. So if you go using this plugin and just put it on auto gain, everything's going to sound better because it's going to be louder. And whenever you watch other videos, if they don't address that, then it's tricking you into thinking it sounds better, because louder signals are typically going to sound better. So I try to match this as best I can. Again, I have these mostly turned down to about 4. Auto gain -4 is where it ends up being about level. I don't know why they can't get that a little more accurate. I actually noticed on their website they mentioned it on their user manual and said they don't actually use gain volumes to measure that in the algorithm. So it's an educated guess is what they call it. It's an educated guess that happens to be like 4 decibels louder, but whatever. I'm not judging. It's just every plugin is the same as far as that goes, it seems to me. So I just typically don't use it or find a way around it. Anyway, that being said, I love how it's shaping the kick drum there. Let's go to overheads, because I did these as a sort of bus, as just a group channel here. So it's just a stereo overhead pair is all it is, left and right. Let's check that out. So what I've done here is added some of the dry mix in so that we're getting parallel compression basically on this. Yeah, I really like that smooth setting actually. I don't know that I tried that before. It's really nice on the harsh, higher frequency kind of instrument. That's really nice. Let's keep playing with it here. Ooh, I like smooth on that. I had it on bus, and I'm changing it because that just sounds great. So you can hear a big difference there in the overheads. When it's bypassed, it sounds just kind of bland. It sounds a little flat. When we engage the C3, it gives it life and it gives it character. So let's check out the room mic, which was a little compressed going in, but let's check out what this can do for it as well. Okay, so you can hear, I was playing with the sidechain stuff there, which this is kind of new to me. So it's just like a built-in sidechain EQ, which is really, really cool. So you could see how I could have it trigger on the kick. I could have it trigger on the snare. I didn't even use the bandpass, but you could do that for the snare even better. Or I could trigger it on like the cymbals and the hi-hat more. So you can really control, that's so cool. And it's really cool how it's just built in right there as well. So you can really give the sound like a warmer sound by triggering on the hi-hats and stuff, or you can give it like a pumping sound off of the kick drum. Really powerful and very cool. I'm just going to turn it off for now. So we're just doing like a basic general compression on it. But it sounds good, and something else for this room mic, it just adds a lot of energy. It adds a lot of character, which is really cool. So it's twofold. It's controlling the dynamics, but it's also adding energy and character. And this plugin does a pretty good job, I think, like balancing both of those things, which is pretty cool. So let's keep checking stuff out here. That's drums. But next we had upright bass. This is just something that I wanted to control the dynamics of. I don't want to add character. It sounds great. I love the tone. Burn Cly was playing upright bass on this. It's just great. But some of the notes just came out louder than others. I just kind of wanted to smooth it out a little bit without affecting the tonal quality of the instrument. So that's why I just left it on clean. So it's not adding a ton of harmonics. So let's check that out. So you can see with the visual graph here that it's just taken off some of the, attack of the loudest notes. Check it out here. So let's see. Okay, this is really cool because the way I mic'd this bass was towards the higher strings. So I want the lows to be coming out a little more when it's compressed. So when he plays a little high, like on the higher strings or higher on the fretboard, that's probably where I want to be compressing it a little harder. Um, Sort of like a dynamic EQ in this way. Yeah, sounds good. I think it does the job that I needed to do there on bass. Let's do some guitar. I don't, again, this is something I don't want to like really change the sound of too much. Just maybe level out the dynamics just the tiniest bit just to get it a little more consistent. Let's check it out. You hear me crank down the threshold on that just so I can hear, like, it's easier to hear when you're going through different settings instead of trying to listen for like really subtle changes. It's a little bit more obvious if you just crank down the threshold, but I think the versatile setting is going to work really nice on this. And I'm just going to keep the threshold just enough to hit like some of the louder chords here. Yeah, I'm not looking for a lot on the acoustic guitar. One of the last things I have here is vocals, of course. Let's open that up and see what we have here. This is Megan Jean on the vocals. This is one of the demos from her upcoming record that should be coming out this year, 2026. And I'm lucky to have such talent to do these videos with, because she's just amazing. So very cool track we have from Megan Jean here. So let's check this out on vocals.
She got down on her knees and she prayed for her son.
Okay, so what we did here is they actually have a vocal setting. It's the only instrument I actually found on here, which kind of makes sense. But I love the vocal setting on here. One thing that's kind of interesting is the knee is like ultra soft, and I didn't like that at first because I really only wanted it to hit the loudest sections. I don't really want it messing with the quiet notes, but that's not really how this vocal setup works. So if we have it on that, it kind of has a locked knee and a locked ratio, but it just sounds good, and it really sounds pretty transparent. Like, it doesn't sound like it's squashing the vocals and squashing out the dynamics, even when it's hitting it pretty heavy. Let's check it out.
I'm alright. Said I forget, I've forgotten. I'm alright. Well, 12 men they walked in the grace of God, and well, 12 men they walked in the grace of God. Well, 12 men they walked in the grace of God, and they worshipped and loved and obeyed him.
So for this vocal setup, again, I didn't really mess around too much because I went to the vocal setting and liked it enough to just keep it. And you can see it's knocking off like 4 and 5 decibels, but I don't hear it necessarily, and that's what I want. I don't want to hear like this pumping compression on the vocals. I want the vocals to be clean and they sit on top of the mix. and present, and this does a good job leveling out the vocal dynamics without it sounding compressed. Feel pretty good about that. Okay, and then last, let's go to our master bus here. Of course, I had to put it on the master bus just to hear that. It has a setting for mastering. So, okay, so that's like an ultra clean setting. It doesn't add a lot of harmonics and distortion and anything like that. It's supposed to be very transparent, which I found to be true. So let's check out the mastering setting here. Again, I want it to do very little. I want it to be subtle. I don't want to really hear it, but I want to just level out some of the loudest hits, and it kind of glues the mix together when you do that on a master bus. So let's check this out.
Damn them all, if it means you must take him. Her faith was changed, but her heart stayed the same. Said I'd done like good for that man. Oh, her faith was changed, but her heart stayed the same. Said I forget.
So you can see it digging into it pretty good there. One thing I played with on the master compressor is the range setting. So this is actually pretty cool. It's default set to 60, and you can see how it affects the knee here. So that means it'll allow up to 60 gains of decibel reduction, which should be more than you would ever need for most applications. But you can dial that back to only allow it to reduce a certain number of decibels. So I have it set here to like 5. So once the compressor wants to push past 5 decibels, it doesn't push any further than that. So it won't allow it to reduce more than that. So if there's like a really loud hit in the mix, it's not going to like jar the whole mix. It'll just knock it to that 5 dB and then pull back from there. So pretty cool for a master bus. Okay, so another thing I really was playing with on this was the Sidechain EQ. So you can see I got a little bit of a curve going here. When you bring up the EQ, it defaults to this high-pass filter being on around 80, 85 hertz. So what I did is I wanted the kick drum to hit into the mix a little bit more. So I dialed that back just a little bit, down to like 70 or something, just to give that kick drum a little bit more thump in the mix. And then, aside from that, I just put on this little bell curve here for about where the vocals sit in the mix. Because I want the vocals to not... When they get loud, I don't want dynamics to happen so much. I want the vocals to just be loud and present and sort of soaring above the mix. So I dialed out a little bit of the vocal frequency there, so that they're just a little less affected by the compression. And what's really cool is you can audition this here. So let's check this out. I'll show this to you all.
I've forgotten I'm alright. Said I forget, I've forgotten I'm alright. Well, 12:21 in the grace of God, and they worshipped and loved and obeyed Him. It took one man alone for...
Okay, so that, when we audition that, that's the signal that the compressor is acting on. So it's pretty cool that you can audition that and just go. And you can't really, I can't take out all the vocal sound because it's going to dig into like the snare and guitar and stuff. So I just took out a little bit there. Liked it around 1200. And I thought that was pretty cool. So a few last things I wanted to look at, especially important on the master bus, is one of them is LOOKAHEAD here. So I did not understand this at first. It defaults to off. And when you turn this on, you're just setting the maximum you're allowing it. So I had it on like 5 and thought that turned it on, but it doesn't. This just enables. It's still at 0, but this just enables the look ahead for you to adjust it from there. So, and what this does, let's pull this up. I have it. I was just reading this. Using a bit of look ahead can help to preserve transients and results in a much more transparent gain reduction. Okay, so that's going to be especially useful on a master bus, going for that transparent gain reduction here. So I have a little bit of that on. And the other thing I want to look at is the oversampling. They say this is especially important when you're using very aggressive compression, as that can cause more aliasing on the signal. But this is default to off. But what you can do is 2 times or 4 times oversample. So it just smooths it out so there's less artifacts in the signal. Again, something that maybe you don't need to use it on every instance of the compressor. It does increase CPU usage, but on a master bus, I'm going to pull out all the stops as far as that goes. So that is pretty cool. There's a couple other options I was just starting to play with. Now, I'm going to enable and disable all of my instances of the C3 at the same time. And I'm going to go back and forth so we can A/B what we've done with just the C3 on all the tracks. Okay, so you see it up here. And when I do this, it's going to disable all of my C3 plugins. You can see they're going to be number 2 here. All of them disabled. Then when I click it again, it's going to enable all of them across the board. So that's disabled, that's enabled. Let's check it out. Let's see what happens here.
I've forgotten I'm alright. Well, 12 men they walk in the grace of God, and they worshipped and loved and obeyed Him. It took one man alone for the jealousy of God to give us our
Pretty cool, right? So it's subtle, but after all, it is just a compression plugin on across some of the tracks. So it's subtle, but I can definitely hear a difference, and it sounds great. I think the biggest thing I hear is that gluing of the mix together, and everything just sounds a little more consistent. So like on that kick drum and on the bass, we're just getting a more consistent volume. But on that master bus and like on the overheads, we're hearing it just glue everything together. So when everything was disabled, it sounded more like there's the vocals here and guitar here and bass back here. And with all the compression enabled, it just brought everything up front and it brought it all together. So it was like one sound, it was more cohesive. And it's really cool. I gotta say, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this plugin. If you're gonna own one compression plugin, it kind of makes sense to have one with all the different characters. So you have that like vintage sort of classic sound, but you also just have a transparent, clean compression because a lot of times that's what I want. This gives you all of the tools in one plugin, so it is pretty cool. I don't know that I need another compression plugin right now, but you know, I can't hate on it. If they could only fix auto gain. But you know, I'm not gonna dog it. I'm not gonna complain too much because overall it's pretty cool and it made the mix sound better, no doubt about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching, got something out of this. I had a lot of fun doing it, and thanks for checking it out.